Hello and welcome to a wrap special. There's no lead. It's me, Harley, today, but I have got one-eyed Scarlet fan with me. So from the Scarlet's Fever, we've got Hugh. So Lee will be happy we finally found a room together. How are you doing, Hugh?
Yes, finally speaking to you in real life rather than, well, not real life, but not by text. Yeah, happy to be here, mate. Can't wait to get into it.
So I wanted to throw out this little bonus pod to talk about some of the tier two nations that we've all grown to love over the World Cup so far. And there's only one person other than Hugh I'd be willing to talk to about that, and that's our good friend Francisco Isaac. How are you doing, Francisco?
Hey Harley, hey Hugh. You can hear from my voice the last 6 days were completely crazy. Everything happened. I went to see Ireland against Scotland, thanks to my boss in Rugby Europe, Ben Fox, who worked for the Scottish Rugby Union for a long time, and he gifted me the tickets, and it's memories I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. I went alone. My first rugby game international alone, so it's haunting and at the same time was inspiring because everybody treated me so well. And I'm trying to not say something that going to get me emotional, but well, it was incredible. I know some people get cringe with it, but when I got there in the well out of the Stade de France, so around it, they were singing a lot of songs from Zombie to Queen, to Queen, to etc. And it was incredible. I sorry for the monologue, but I think it's important to say this. Some people say it's being a boring World Cup. No one is having fun or something like that. It's a lie. I've seen the parties. It's just incredible. I know France does sports and rugby well, but it's massive. I saw like 100,000 people in South France. A lot of fans didn't go inside, just stayed there drinking and so on. It's massive. I don't know if people want to hear this, but rugby can be like a freaking big global sport if you want. And I saw that, and well, let's talk about the rest, or I'll just have here a monologue about Scotland against Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know this is a pod dedicated to tier two, but we've heard enough about Scotland, so we'll start off with a team that I think it's safe to say is close to your heart, Portugal, which I'm sure Hugh might want to inject about how good a tournament it's been for Portugal. But you were there for that what is going to be an infamous win over Fiji. How was it? I mean, I think part of the reason we had to leaving the podcast this late was to try and give you a bit of time to calm down and recover a voice.
Yeah, no, my voice wasn't that bad after the game. You can see that speech I made while I was waiting for the press conference, and I just lost my voice is like this because in the last 6 days I have an average of 4 hours of sleep between working, airplanes, canceled flights inside the plane. Everything happened to me, and if I will do it again, yeah. But let me go to the game, and firstly say sorry to the journalists that were on my side or below me or to my side, whatever, because at everything that Portugal did or the massive tackles from Fiji, I just got emotional and said, "Oh, Tigray!" And when it was 30 try, I just remember jumping and sorry, and grabbing. Sorry, yeah, and grabbing fellow journalist Sergio Lopes, and it was incredible. It's moments I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life, and it was incredible seeing the stands completely lighten up. Sorry, emotional for a minute. Talk, Harley, talk.
That's absolutely. I said I know when that Storty try went in, my wife hit me because I woke the baby up just from cheering so loud on the sofa. So I'm just a Welshman who sort of fell in love watching their qualification, and it was.
This is what sport's all about, isn't it? This is people who don't like sports say that that it's not for them. They don't understand why people get so invested in it. It's not about one game. It's about the years and the relationships and the people who you share it with. And then you get the moment where all of the pain, all of the struggle, just that this is why I did it. This made everything worth it.
Yeah, I agree completely, 100%. Look, let me just zoom out Portugal and say, for example, the guys from Romania, the World Cup didn't pan out as they wanted, which is a shame. I saw Romania in 2021 and 2022. They were like serious threat to everyone. And the World Cup wasn't good. And they both, the team all admitted it. But hearing the stories from guys like Marius Simonescu or Cristi Chirica or Vlad Necolau and so on, that had a long time working for it and putting their bodies for massive sacrifices, enduring injuries, playing with injuries, trying to get pro and so on. And I think people should respect them. I know, thankfully, people were nice to Romania. They understood there was something not working for them. It was not the players are bad, because you could see good things from them. Not blaming the head coach Hugo Apio, who have a massive respect for his club career and assistant coach career with Andy Robertson. But when people, I think, after this World Cup, if I can, and this is not the end of the podcast, I think we're going to be here for a while if Harley wants and can, sorry, and you. But it's important that people after this World Cup follow these players. Even if you don't see the whole games or just one game a year, drop them a message on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or something, saying that they want them to go even bigger and so on. Because for them, they do this for the fans. They do this for the fans. They don't just do it for themselves. They do for the fans. Let me, Siminescu, in an interview I did with him, his first pro career, or first pro club in Romania with 18 years old or 17, he had to move from his of home like 500 kilometers. I don't know if people understand how it's difficult for a guy to leave home, his parents, brothers, sisters, cousins, friends, and go to a different city. We start all over again, and the endurance you have to reach to this stage. And when you talk to them, you see that you're humans that are trying to do their best, and it falls under us. I won't say the Blazers and World Rugby. It falls under to the fans to help them to understand they matter and they're big and they should and they matter for the sport. And that's about it. And before we go to Portugal, because I know we are now and I say we with all respect, I'm a journalist, but I have a color inside of my heart. Still root for Georgia and Romania, but go for them. Please follow them. Talk to them. If they don't want to talk to you, they were going to say it. But be human with them. Don't try to dehumanize the players or call them ugly or shit. Sorry for the cursing. Worry about these guys, because the T1 players have a lot of mental problems, and it was
Men's Mental Health Day.
Yeah, 2 days ago or 1 day ago. And imagine if the T1 players have these problems, imagine the T2 players. Imagine it, because they don't have the same support or the same system or the same structure. And that's it. Let's talk about more fun things. So sorry.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, I mean, anyone can come around and say, oh, so and so is bad because of X, Y, Z. But yeah, I hopefully in this, want to try and make this a little bit more of a celebration. But I think we do need to be critical as well, because I think if we're going to judge, if we want to get rid of this tier 2 label, I think we hold them to the same standards. But for me, I think the issue with Romania isn't necessarily the players. And I think it's going to be a running theme for all these nations. It's not necessarily the players; it's the systems that are there to support them. And that, we still don't actually have a good real reason why Andy Robinson left. So Romania seemed to be flying high. They were, they looked good for their Europe 2 qualification, and then all of a sudden they seem to have fallen off a cliff since he's left. I don't know if you have any insight into that, Francisco, or.
I have talked about this with Hugh and Callan, and in their podcasts, in Parrot and in Callan the Rugby podcast. And I don't know. I don't know what happened. I know that it wasn't good for anybody. Andy Robertson, you might not like him or like him, but he knows well how to lead teams. Those memes that from South Park. It's Kyle's father, like this thing. I heard no bell. You know the meme?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not Kyle's or Eric. It's not Cartman. It's okay. Don't worry. And Romania,
I think it's Stan's dad. Yeah,
it stands that. Yeah, in 2022.
That's the one.
Yeah, in 2022 against Portugal, I remember we were winning with a margin of 20 points in Bucharest. And Romania, when they start fighting back, it reminded me that meme, because they just kept going and going, and they got a win. You could see that there was a team in there, massive scrum, lethal maul. They were punching, intensity, and so on. And something dropped in this World Cup. We could already see it in the Rugby Europe Championship and the Summer International. Something was amiss. Something was not working. I'm not going to deliver some details from inside of the camp, for respect for you and Apiog and for the players and for the union. I work for Rugby Europe. I just don't want to go inside it. Sometimes things don't work out. That's fine. But now I think they have to do a serious job to understand what happened, so they can get better, and we have the strongest Romania possible for the next 4 years, because Romania is one of the greatest T2 countries of all time. Try to check the records of between the 70s and the 80s. Wales were afraid to go play in Romania, or the All Blacks. All Blacks almost lost in Romania. It's a very controversial game because All Blacks scored a try that at the time was not legal, but the refs made it illegal. It's a very fun story about it. And now, in the 90s, they were still powerful, and something in the last 8 years happened, and the last 4 years started dwelling, and this year something broke completely. Let's hope they can mend it and reboot and go up again.
Yeah, I think Squidge in his video talked about it, didn't it? About how Romania was in that rise in the late 20th century, and then they were prevented from going any further. But with the last game against Tonga, it was fantastic to see them smiling and enjoying that game, because the World Cup was over for them, and no one enjoyed watching them, and they had a horrible schedule playing those three big teams and not having their moment against Tonga until last. But seeing someone like I'm so sorry, you have to correct my pronunciation. Is it Surigou, the scrum half?
Surigou, yeah, it's good. Yeah.
He was retiring after that game, wasn't it? That was his last ever Romania game.
Yeah, I think one. Let me break down the game, because you had 3 uncontested tries from Tonga. At some point, everybody. I remember I was in media center waiting for the Portugal-Fiji game. I was watching and doing the report for the Romania. And everyone was like, okay, this is going to be 70s or 80s again, and so on. But after that third try, something like snapped in Romania. And you could see Florin Surigou just smiling and punching his colleagues and saying, okay, let's go. And from a team that was conceding a lot of missed tackles, they came roaring back. They scored a beautiful try in the lineout, which was not a common lineout. They did a quick one, and then pick and goes like nobody was expecting, offloading, and try. And after it, Florin scored a try that's going to be memorable. It was his last try in the World Cup at 30 years old. So he's the oldest back player ever to play in a World Cup. It's just incredible. And I know the second half didn't pan out well, but they lost by just 20 points. And for a team that was completely blasted by Scotland and Ireland in the box. They came roaring back in the last game. Normally, it's the opposite. A team like Romania starts well, and then as the weeks progress, they can break. But it was otherwise. They finished strong, and I think Tonga, the game they did, should have been the game they could have done against Scotland or Ireland or South Africa. It was one of the great. I think it was one of the greatest weekends ever from any World Cup, and Romania did so well. I wanted them to win. They didn't, but that last display was a sign that something is still in there, something that it's valuable, and we have to find it and bring it to the sky so they can build something from it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things, you certainly as a neutral, as someone who likes, loves watching rugby games, you just want to see these teams giving it a go. And I think I haven't actually, some people have worked out, I haven't sort of planned out an order of this, but I feel like this flows next on to Namibia, who again sort of had a very tough time with it, and then in their last game against Uruguay, they showed what they could do, and I think it was nice. I said equally as we said, it was nice to see Romania showing some fight and what they wanted. It's it was nice to see Namibia having a go at it, despite once again having possibly the roughest end of the draw. I don't know what some of the tier 1 nations are on about with their pool things, because none of them had to play all 4 games in 19 days, and to the point that they were booted out of their hotel before some teams had played the third.
Yeah, it was crazy. I really think that they were, when the guys were making the scheduling, they must have just not given a thought to Namibia, and I think that's a real shame, and I think that's shame on the schedulers. But you're right, it was good to watch them in that final game against Uruguay, who they'd played in the summer as a warm-up game, so we kind of already knew what to expect as a result. But for me, I feel like I was the only person in the world who didn't know who Swanepoel was before the World Cup, and how far he could kick the ball, because I wasn't really aware of him, and then I saw him kick his first penalty, and I was like, wow, he can really kick the ball very far. So I think he plays for the Lions in the URC, so I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for him in this season coming. And they had the guy Mouton as well, scored 2 of their 3 tries. So it was nice to see them, and it's so frustrating because they've been to 5 or 6 World Cups in a row and they haven't won a game, and they had a game planned against Canada in 2019. And that game got cancelled due to the typhoon, and I think Namibia would have backed themselves to win that game. So one day, Namibia, one day it will be your day. I was actually backing Namibia in that game because I believe that Uruguay are coming, and I don't think anything's going to stop them. But I think it would have been a bigger deal for Namibia to win that game than Uruguay. So that's my piece on them.
Anything you'd like to add with Uruguay, Francisco? Or?
Namibia, I think, and now comes on. I'm going to be known by the Portuguese revolutionary that maybe I'm the spirit of someone that died in the French Revolution. I don't know, maybe so something like that. But I think Namibia for the last 4 years, and everybody can check the records, played how many games against a T1 side? I think once, maybe once. I have to check it, but I think it was once. And it's not good because you can play 4 games in 19 days. You shouldn't. You can. You shouldn't play in 19 days 4 games. But if you don't play against T1 countries for a long time, you're not going to do well. I have to applaud Alistair Coetzee courage by picking a second or third side to play against the All Blacks and France, because I know what he wanted. It was a Uruguay game. It was a terrorist game. That's it. And that shows that something is broken inside how we do the scheduling in the World Cup. Maybe for future tournaments, they're going to worry with the expansion. I think it's almost confirmed from what I've heard in Paris, and there was a lot going on in talks and so on. And I think it's a scheduling for Uruguay. I think people should see the Super Rugby Americas, and to understand that they're getting professional. So they're doing well the system. They're working very hard to have a pro system that can put players out there and send them to France or England or whatever, and so they can amass new experience. Rugby in South America is growing fast again. I know Hugh is a huge fan for Brazil, and I have a long connection with them. I worked with them, and I think Brazil needs a bit of time to get things going on. I think they will, but we have to be patient. So that's my 2 cents about Uruguay and Namibia.
Yeah, excellent. I said yeah. So I said with Namibia, the sort of only players I was vaguely aware of was Byron McGuigan being a bit of a coward and not actually playing with them in the end after declaring, and players like Kundradi, and I've forgotten the name of the one. I think he got red carded. You see, no, it was the one who injured it. It was the flanker who injured himself.
Diesel.
No, not yeah. It's not Diesel. It was the flanker who got injured in.
Against All Blacks.
Yeah. But I've forgotten his name. They both play for the New England Free Jacks, who I know.
MLR guy. Hang on.
Mallard. It's not Mallard. Squidge was talking about him yesterday.
Conradi.
It's not Conradi. It's the other one. It's like LaRue or something.
I've got their loose forwards up on the
apologise.
fantasy game. So it's either Hardwick, Gauseb. I can't say that one. Katz, Gijeko, Boyson, Conradi, or Van Lille.
Van Lille is like a 41 years old guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a Free Jacks player who broke his ankle, and they were ones I was sort of aware of watching MLR a bit. I mean, I'm a Dallas fan, so I do, and I sort of only loosely follow the Free Jacks for David Lawrence, Scum of the Earth. We chat a lot about it. So I didn't know a lot about Namibia, and they don't seem to be. I think of all the nations, they're the ones who seem to play the fewest games.
I've looked up on Flash Score now. When I've been doing research for other videos, it's really hard to even just find the games listed that these guys have played in the last 4 years. Like on Flash Score are probably the best source for it, but you normally have to piece it together with places like Absolute Rugby, or if you can find anything like somewhere like Rugby Pass doesn't even cover all of these.
Can I give an advice? Can I give a tip?
Can I
give a tip? Okay. I'm going to give a tip that it's gold, but I want everybody to get into rugby for 100%. It's a website called It's Rugby. So ET''S space rugby. It's a French website, has every information you want. You just have to pay like 10 euros a year or 15, something like this. You have everything, every single thing. And if you want if you want records, so past matches or something, the best website from an Italian guy called Rugby Archive. It's like class, pure gold.
I think we'll stick the links of the companies up on the description, or at least whenever we share this, whenever this goes out.
I've just opened the tabs on my laptop, so I'll share them in a bit. But going back to Namibia, thank you, Francisco. I will look at those later. So the fixtures for Namibia that I've been able to find since the last World Cup are Kenya, Zimbabwe, Spain, Canada, Argentina, 15, Uruguay, Chile, and then this World Cup. And that's since 2019.
Yeah, so it's basically qualifying and warm-ups. Which I think you've got to part of the blame of that does have to go with the Namibian Union. They do get money to help put on games and try and host, but also teams have got to be willing to go and play. South Africa got lots of plaudits post-lockdown when they did a warm-up game versus Georgia, but they've got a neighbour next door who'd be desperate for some actual proper test, because Kenya might be coming up and coming based on their sevens performance, but if I remember rightly, a lot of those are just blowouts, and they just certainly in World Cup cycles gone by, they've just sort of waltzed into the Africa one and then not really had a test.
Yeah. So they beat Namibia
World Cup.
beat Kenya 60 points to 24, and they beat Zimbabwe 41 points to 10. So that
Yes,
gives you
right.
some kind of perspective. It was a close game with Canada, though. But yeah,
But
let's
we've
not
seen
talk about
Canada.
It's Canada.
Yeah.
I think we've all gonna do that. Yeah. So I as we briefly mentioned with you, we've mentioned Uruguay. I suppose the best. Do we think? Again, I want to try and keep it positive. Do we think they've come back? They've come back to the World Cup and have you? I mean, for me, I think they were probably the team that best handled both New Zealand and France in that pool.
I think they gave France a better game than anyone else in their pool did.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a much changed France team, but I think even though they didn't win it, I think that game against France was such a huge statement. They'll be maybe a bit sad about not beating Italy. They said it before that game, didn't they, that was their World Cup final. They wanted to make that their statement game, and they got quite close to Italy. I think it was last year where it was 17-10 to Italy in Italy. And of course, they were leading at half time. But if you remember in that game, I think Italy had a couple of men sent off, and Uruguay kind of failed to capitalize. And as Wales fans, we know how that feels. So yeah, that was a bit disappointing for them. One player of theirs. Well, I want to shout out 3 Uruguayan players. Echeverri, their fly half, got 5 try assists. Now, try assist stats are very subjective. Like, for instance, Jack Morgan is only down as having 1 try assist, even though he definitely actually got 3. But I think it's to do with how the ball bounces, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so 5 is good, and especially for a tier 2 nation. And it shows how they like to play. They were very watchable, and they played through 10, and they always going for tries. They didn't kick for goal very much, which is maybe a stage of their development next. And then obviously Freitas is the guy that everybody saw as scoring the tries, the exciting winger. And then you got Amaya as well on fullback, was their top try scorer with 3. So those are the exciting guys. And then you got Arata as well, the scrum half that everybody knew about before the tournament. So this is, we've now got characters. I've not followed a World Cup as closely as this with spreadsheets before. So now I've got characters that we can look out for in the future. I'm looking up, like Echeverri plays for Peñarol, who are the champions of the Super Rugby Americas. So this is something for us to keep an eye on in the future. And next time they come to a World Cup, we'll know who they are. I think Uruguay were a very young team. And as Francisco said, they are taking positive action to move forward and progress. I think they did quite well in the under-20s trophy as well, the one below the championship this year. So yeah, Uruguay are going to be the next Georgia, in my opinion.
That's anything else to add to Uruguay? Or are you happy to move on there, Francisco?
I think you just nailed on the last sentence. I think Uruguay can be the next Georgia. I just hope that not. I'm saying to Argentina to get out of the Rugby Championship, not that, but South America is turning out to be incredible continent to see rugby. If the Lions one day go there, they're going to fill their pockets. Believe what I'm saying. They're going to fill their pockets.
Yeah. I think the Lions needs to remodel, but that's a whole nother pod. That's a whole nother pod.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, let's not go, because that is a conversation that really does really spread me a bit thin on opinions of it. When both loving traditional rugby and wanting it to grow. As we say, so we think Uruguay is going to be the next Georgia. So if we move on to the Lelos, I think safe to say not the World Cup they were hoping for. I think they were I think when we did a pod for Rock and Roll, Francisco, we were saying about how they were strongly eyeing up that 3rd place. I know Huws mentioned on pods how baffled he was with people suggesting they could go out, but I think actually generally Pool C was that mad a pool. I wouldn't have been shocked if it happened. I just wouldn't say that was what I'd think happened. But
look,
is it just the fact that everyone had really high expectations of Georgia, and maybe not necessarily knowing Portugal, and Portugal were able to slip by and bring their results, or do you think it's just a sign of how competitive that pool was?
Well, let me first say something which is important. Some people are saying that if Scotland got drafted to the Pool C, it would have been easy for them. I think this shows a bit of disrespect for Pool C, because I think it was the best one out of the World Cup.
Comfortably.
Yeah, comfortably. I think Wales, people are not getting this, but Wales can go to the semis, and anything can happen in a World Cup. So it shows, yeah, Australia is not doing well. We all know, we saw it. I think it was a problem before the World Cup. I get what Eddie Jones was trying to do, but it was not the time to do it. It was not the time to do it, in my honest opinion. But he's a head coach; he knows better than me, of course. So if Eddie hears this, it's my opinion. If you want to discuss with me about it, I'll be free. And you have Fiji, which improved like sensationally. Against Wales and in Australia, they showed structured rugby. For Fijians, this is a massive improvement. There's a system, and more than a system, there's an idea of game they want to do. Yeah, it didn't work well with Georgia and worse against Portugal, but Portugal will go there. And I explain to you what I think from watching outside of the pitch happened. And I think it's a problem that Fiji will have to work in years to come. But Pool C was massive. And then we have Georgia. I think the problem was that everybody, including me, made massive expectations. And I said this, and I got to a good debate with Tier 2 account, that I think they peaked too early. Now the conversation always about Ireland. In 2019, they peaked. 2019, they broke down. And he says, justly, that they won the Rugby Euro Championship in the final against Portugal by like more than 20 points. But at the time, I thought something was... They were playing incredibly well, but I was worried if they were going to peak too soon. And what came wrong with Georgia was mainly what happened against Australia. If they opted for strategy, it was... I think we talked about this already in the WRRAP, in the Pirate podcast. That and sorry for my voice, it's getting worse by the minute, but I'm going to endure it because I love doing this with you. But the strategy didn't pan out. You cannot let Niniashvili not have the ball. You can't. The kicking doesn't work. And against a team like Australia, if you kick a lot, they're going to say thank you, because they like to attack with the ball in their hands. You must not kick, and that was a problem. In the stats, I know Hugh loves stats, and I do a lot of it. I just don't expose it because some of it I can't. But Tabu Tsatsi, which is an incredible winger, in the whole World Cup, received like 20 passes. This is nothing. This is nothing. And every time he gets the ball with a bit of space, he's a menace. He has speed, step, and so on. And that was the problem. Against Australia, everything backfired in the first half. And that first half tells you the full story of their World Cup. They excel in some sections, but when in the critical moments, they broke down. Against Wales, I thought they were going to win against Wales. Honestly, in the last game, when Niniashvili scored that try, okay, it's now. They're completely pumped. But then Wales showed why they can be World Cup winners. You could see the players' faces. Okay, let's show these guys what we can do in 10 minutes. And poof, poof, and poof. And I know it's a problem. They missed a lot of players. Gorgadze got injured against Portugal, which was a shame. Incredible loose forwards. One of my favorite number 8s at the moment. Shalva Mamakushvili played a bit injured. Merab Sharikadze had to endure injuries too. He played against Wales injured. I don't know if people understand this. He played at 50%. And this is what matters so much for them to play in a World Cup. And I think Wales-Georgia is becoming like a fierce rivalry. It's an incredible game to see it. I know the final score was more than 20 points margin, but it was a great game. I think Georgia were unlucky. I think it was their second worst World Cup ever. But when you look to the stats, it worked very good. So what mattered was the small details. And I think in the future, I hope Levin Masashvili stays. I don't believe like firing him because it was just one World Cup. And I believe he can build. And let me just finish this monologue very quickly. Some people are criticizing that he picked a lot of Black Lion players. So the franchise that plays in Super Cup and is going to play in the Challenge Cup with the Scarlets, right?
Yes, that's right. They're in our pool.
Yeah. And you have to understand that franchise is giving professional contracts to players. You cannot kick them out of the national team when they're working like 200%. I'm not saying the players that in France are not working, but Sharikadze, Tabutsadze, Matkava, Papidze, Jaini now is playing in Van, and I hope he gets a full recovery in 9 months with all my heart because I love that guy. And you have a lot of Tuskeritsi, Ivanashvili. You cannot say to these guys, okay, as you play in a Georgian franchise, you cannot go to the national team or you're going to be always look like third or fourth choices. It doesn't work like this. Sorry, guys, it doesn't work like this.
No one says that about the Fijian Drua, do they? No one says that Fiji shouldn't pick Drua players.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It's the same principle for me. It's, you have a team and you build that cohesion around it. And right, the whole reason why Andy Farrell might necessarily pick a player who others don't think is as good as another player is because the cohesion and they work with that system all the time. I mean, I think that's the sole reason behind Ross Burns' career is because of the cohesion with Leinster.
Can I say something?
Go for it.
It is a personal experience of mine. I remember I had a lot of coaches in my lifetime as a player, and sometimes other more experienced guys that didn't play for like 3 months got picked ahead of me because the coach knew that they knew the system fully well and they will be vital for that match. I played 10 minutes. The guy played like 60. He didn't train as much as me, but I understand it's the system. You want to win. That's about it. You want to win. And yeah, at the time I got angry. After 20 years after it, I said, I see it and say, it was the right choice. It is the right choice. Because the Black Lion, the World Cup wasn't good, but I can tell you, every kid that is playing in Georgia will look to the Black Lion like the top before the Georgia national team. That's it. You can go to play. Yeah, you can go to Batumi or any Georgian side, but then there's a franchise that can help you, give you experience. They play. Look, they play in the Curry Cup. They are playing in the Challenge Cup. They play in the Rugby Europe Super Cup. This is an excellent idea. Just give a bit more time to Georgia to work it out.
I want to pick on something you said there, Francisco. You said that these Black Lion players are giving 200%. They literally are. They played in Rugby Europe Cup and Curry Cup at the same time. That's how much these guys are giving, and that's unbelievable. And then I think they went to South America and toured all of the Super Rugby America teams and beat all of them. I think they lost to an invitational South America team, which why wasn't that on TV? That would have been amazing. I wish I could have watched that. But yeah, I can't wait to see them play in the Challenge Cup. I'm a lot of Scarlets fans are very sad that we've got them at home rather than we're going over to Georgia to play them. I think a lot of Scarlets fans wanted to go and play them away.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, well, I'm nominally. My wife's a Scarlets fan, and I'd say they're my second region. Don't tell Jamie O'Cowan from the WRRAP, but yeah, I would have gone because I think it was the 2019 warm-up game versus Scotland in Tbilisi, and like just showing the pictures of the stadium and like the crowd noise. I just went,
it's so loud.
I want to go there. I've got to go there.
Tannoy. Yeah. I want to just ask Francisco one more thing on Georgia. The thing that really annoys me in the UK when people talk about Georgia is people who don't follow them very much just say, well, Georgia, they're a great scrum, they're physical, blah, blah, blah. And we know that Georgia have evolved so much about that, and their backs play and people like Niniashvili and things are such incredible players. Do you think that played subconsciously on Georgia's mind that we're so determined to show that we are not just a scrum, that maybe that subconsciously made them play too much?
Well, it's a great question. It's like if this was Final Fantasy or role playing game, it will be like 90 hits. It's perfect. Yeah, maybe. I think Ninashvili was not phased about. Against Australia, he was phased because he missed two things, and I think his mind was all over the place. And I think Levin Masashvili, at the time, I criticized him pulling up that he pulled him out of the game like in 60 after that mistake. So he did that offload to Tupu, and then he did a knock on from an NRL challenge. But after it, he just was impressive until the end of the World Cup. And I think it might be, yeah. It's the problem is the Georgian scrum was not as stable as in past, and I think some people are attacking or criticizing Papice form, and I get it. He was away a long time ago, but I think mainly their attack system, if they want something, they should focus on it. And against Australia, as I told you, they didn't go for the system in the first 40 minutes. They went for the system in the second half, but it was too late. There was a deficit of 20 points. And you know how it works in your head. You want to speed up things and score tries and so on. But it doesn't work like that. Against Fiji, you saw what Georgia is like. The only mistake they did was that try that Abutsati scored. We can go for it if it was fourth pass or not, but it was the only mistake. If they scored that try, they would have won it against Fiji. I believe like fully they would have won that game. And I think it might have backfired against them. Yeah. Well, let me just add something to your question. What helped Portugal in this World Cup is they were Jack in the Box surprise. Everyone, look, I knew how they play it. I didn't know about some things of the system. They kept their aces inside their sleeves for a long time. I think in the Rugby Europe Championship they didn't show 40% of what were they planning for the World Cup, and Georgia showed everything to everyone. And that didn't help because then coaches like Gatlin is a mastermind, looks at it, he has a massive respect for T2 sides, and he studies them. And I think Portugal surprised Gatland, and that's why he was like shocked in that match, what happened. But against Georgia, he knew fully well how to win it. And I think Georgia showed their cards too early, and that with the pressure of doing well, because at the end of the day, I'm almost sure that their dream was the quarterfinals. It was not even a third place. It was I was almost cursing. It was a quarterfinals. They wanted to go to the knockout stage, and when they lost that chance, well, I think they started to phase out. I will add just another detail. When I was in press conference after the Georgia-Portugal match, Sharikadze, who I respect a lot, was like angry. And he wasn't angry with Portugal or the referee or something. He was angry with him and with the team because he knows that he could have done better, but they don't know they could have done better. I don't know if this makes sense.
Yeah, I understand.
But it's small tweaks. If they do the small tweaks, and I'll say this now, the revolution thing comes again. Revolution, if they play more against T1 side, and they did a lot in the last 2 years, which is good. Italy, Wales, England, Scotland, Ireland, France. If they keep doing this, you're going to have like massive Georgia.
Yeah, they maybe that's what caused them to give their game plan away, because they had those huge matches against Italy at home and Wales away where they had to make a statement, they felt. So anyway, I could talk about Georgia all night. Should we talk about some Pacific Islanders, Harley?
Yeah, I said, I mean, having you on the pod, I feel like it'd be rude not to talk about some of your beloved Pacific Islanders.
So
who
yeah, go
who would
ahead,
you
mate.
like to start with? Should we start?
I don't want to talk about Fiji too much because they're still in it. So we're going to have plenty of chance
Yeah.
to talk about them next week as well. All I'll say is against the Portugal game, I think that Simon Rai tried to do what Gatland did against Portugal and play a changed team, and it backfired. But Batito is not a 10, so I think that was a huge mistake. And I was really shocked at how long he waited before bringing Teller off the bench. I think Teller should have come on at 60 minutes at the latest. With Batito, they had no shape, they had no direction. You could see that his kicking to touch wasn't good enough. You could see that they weren't going for goal because Lamani, I think, kicked most of his goals, but they weren't like Lee Halfpenny, Dan Bigger straight over. They were wobbling a bit. So that was disappointing. But I think now for Fiji, they just have to park that and forget it. But think of something to blame it on and blame it on that even if it's not true, and just psychologically move on. It's a huge game against England. And obviously England had the game against Samoa where they were struggled, and everything that Samoa are good at, Fiji can be better at. So everything that a Samoa strength is a Fijian strength. So that's what gives them belief for the quarterfinals. Like I said, let's not talk about Fiji too much. Samoa, they will be kicking themselves. Samoa had the opportunity and the talent to get out of their pool. I think what went on with Sopawanga? Okay, so I'm criticizing them because they showed that they were able to be at a level. So I don't want to patronize them by saying, "Oh, they did well, well done them." I want to show them the respect by asking the questions of what went wrong that meant that they didn't get out of the pool. And for me, playing Paiawa as a fullback, maybe not psychologically turning up for some games like the game against Japan, where they won it in the PNC. Maybe they thought that they were easily going to win it again. And not picking Sopawanga, even though he wasn't injured, and he was amazing in the game against Ireland, and he was amazing again in the game against England. Harley, mate, but is this the one that got away for Samoa?
I think so, particularly that England game. I think they had that, but I think the Argentina again. You mentioned the Ireland game, and I think everyone watched that and went, and we all sort of even people who aren't following Tier 2 nations stood back because, all right, it probably wasn't Ireland's full strength team, but even Ireland's not full strength team is still a hard team to beat, and they're running that close. And it was this, I think, for a lot of people, it was the style of game and the level of control that everyone went, hang on, this is something that's going to cause an upset. And Paul D, I think there was not. I don't think any team particularly performs as well as it. Like I'd say, probably England performed better.
England overperformed
by just
as we
realizing
saw on
they are good
King's
at
Graph.
being bullies, and that works. Yeah, we had the conversation about offline about would Charles Piatow at 15, if he was Samoan, would they have done better? Because just given that extra reassuredness. I think not playing Sopawanga for all the games, I think probably had a thing, because I think Leolifano is a great player and still is very good, but for me, I think Sopawanga at 10 just gives Samoa so much more direction, and I think their pack is really good. I think Theo McFarland is just he was going even when he's not highlight reel Theo McFarland, he's still. I think losing Chris Fui was a bit as well, because I think his leadership and Stephen Luatua, so those two work into. I mean that backline, was it Fritz Lee, Theo McFarland, and Stephen Luatua in the England game, was just like, that is a back row that you'd put up against any team, and you'd think that they can cause problems at line out time, carrying, defense, over ball. Like they were just great. But yeah, I think they did get away. I feel like they should have done a bit better than they did.
Yeah, Fritz Lee, I didn't realize, because I picked out Fritz Lee as one of the top performers that I saw in the pool stages, and I didn't realize that he's not an open side. He's a number 8, but he was playing at open side this tournament, and he got like something like 7 turnovers, which is if Nicholas Martins and Jack Morgan didn't exist, you'd say he was the best open side at the World Cup. But I think that sums up Samoa, is that there's just, with a population that small, they were just playing so many players out of position. Like I said, Paiawa at fullback, Fritz Lee at open side to accommodate Stephen Luatua at number 8. And they were playing Charlie Faumuina at loose head, and I think he was a tight head when he was an All
I
Black.
think he was the wrong side.
Yeah, so that just sums it up for them. Of course, you got their Pacific neighbors, Tonga. And Francisco, I want to ask you about this. With the change to the eligibility rules, where they had all their new players come in, a lot of people got very excited about Tonga. Is there a risk that the Tonga side gets trapped in this cycle now of players get capped for the Wallabies or the All Blacks and then go and get a big contract in Europe and then wait 3 years and then turn up for Tonga at the very end of their career? Is that just a cycle they're going to become trapped in?
I I hope not. Look, when people got like really excited with the new LGBT laws and everyone was saying, Tonga is going to be a massive threat. And you can see the tweets, mainly with Paul Williams, because I thought consistency is key in the team, as all we know. Yeah. Samoa had consistency. Samoa was a bit injured, not in form, and when he came in, was fine, and so on. But Tonga, you could see that something was wonky. It's the best word for it. You had Piotau. I think Moala was a big omission for the team. That suspension killed 50% of their attacking form, because he's like a stupidly good threat. You give him the ball, he doesn't stop. That type of carrier. I think the scrum was good. The line-out was not working, and that was a problem. Physicality-wise, they were good, but the tackling was too high, and so on. It's a lot of things that, at the end of the day, won't help you. I think there was too much expectation for a team, and you can bring all the superstars that you want. If there's no consistency, there's like no thing that glues the team together, you're going to lose it. I think they need more competition, as most of the teams. For example, Portugal had 4 years that 90% of the team that went to the World Cup is the same team that was drafted in 2020. With Marx only came in 2021. Tadger was already in 2020. Nicolas Martins only in 2022, but we'll go for Portugal and explain to you some of the stories behind it, if we have time, if you want. But and Tonga wasn't that. It was like last one half of a year, and that's not that much of time to build a team. Samoa had more time with Moana Pacifica, which helped them a lot. And I hope that the New Zealand Rugby Union respects their path, because we want them to be a getaway for players from Samoa and Tonga to go big, because, the regional competition in Samoa and Tonga is complicated. Fiji one is very interesting. It's incredible rugby situation. I have a lot of friends playing there. And I think that was the problem for Tonga. Consistency didn't exist. And against Romania, they almost blew it over. But the second half is what Tonga wants, is a team that is muscle with brains. They start punching and go and bullying around. That was at missed against the Boks or Ireland. They weren't bullies enough against these teams. They could resist for 20 minutes, and then the next half an hour they backtracked. And against a team like Ireland or Scotland or the Boks, you can't do that. You're gonna get like 5 tries, and you won't. It's impossible to overcome.
Yeah, they actually scored more points against Ireland in the first half than Scotland did. I will just just let people know that. I think Celesi Pietau at fullback as well in that Romania game. I think he just decided, I'm going to go out there and have fun. I'm going to show what I can do. I'm going to throw all the steps, throw all the tricks, and just celebrate what might be his last ever time playing an international rugby game. I think, with the age of their squad. Going back to what you're talking about, consistency, I think Adam Coleman is a great example of that, because I believe he had visa issues and couldn't play for them for a long time. So he might have played his first game for Tonga in like the second or third game of a World Cup. That just sums up where their selection was, but they took him along anyway because of the quality. And Scarlet's legends, Sam Lucy and Veer Fafita as well, when they're not being red carded. So yeah,
what can we say? They love the colour.
They love the colour. That's my favorite colour of card, ref.
Yeah, it's the one thing I do want to bring up to, because you did mention them, and obviously it links back to our thing about black light, having Georgia having the black lion, Fiji having the Drua, you've got the Lusitanos of Portugal as well. Moana Pacifica isn't really. It's not a Samoan team. It's not a Tongan team. So yeah. I know, Hugh, you've brought it up on Pirate Pod before. There's no way of building a team around it. Like, do we think they need to actually split it? Could they afford to split it as well? Which is, I guess, part of the problem.
At the moment, they're being bankrolled by New Zealand Rugby, and it's a bit of a funny situation, really. New Zealand Rugby are paying for them, and then they play their games in New Zealand. So with your tinfoil hat on, you're asking, are they a sixth New Zealand franchise? Now, the thing that doesn't help that conspiracy theory is that their two best players, Tavatava Nawai and Amua, both got signed by New Zealand franchises. And I think Amua is going to the Crusaders and Tavatava Nawai is going to the Highlanders with Reece Patchell. Reece Patchell's Highlanders, we must call them from now on.
I like them. I like them when they were the Freddie Burns Highlanders, but I quite like the Reece Patchell Highlanders as well.
I think they're going to sign Lee Halfpenny. That's my tip.
Do you know what? I'll be honest. What I've seen from the highlights and hearing about it, because obviously I know Hugh, you do buy Sky Sports, which I feel like you kind of need to with the games you watch and cover, but I can't afford to have that extra subscription. From what I've heard, having someone who's that reliable at fullback would probably be the best thing for them.
Well, William Havili was playing for them at fullback this year. That's another one. William Havili was amazing for Tonga, but he's played all season at fullback for Moana Pacifica because Leilefano was playing fly half. So that's exactly to the point that we started with, of having two nations worth of players at one club doesn't really necessarily do much for either of them. I think, as Francisco rightly said, I think Samoa got more out of it. But yeah, so I think, look, and I take my conspiracy theory hat off. I truly hope Moana Pacifica go on and do all of the amazing things that they want them to do. They have the best rugby merch in the world. I will say Dynasty do a fantastic job for them. And they're going to be everyone's second team in Super Rugby. So yeah, I think fingers crossed, but it's Moana Pacifica aren't out of the woods yet. They're going to be coached next year by I've gone blank. Who's the guy who poleaxed Brian O'Driscoll? The former Kiwi. He was coaching Samoa this year.
Amunga?
Yes, Tano Umaga is the head coach.
Tano Umaga, yeah.
Is he going to stick with? Is he going to stay there with Samoa or as well?
I believe he's becoming Moana Pacifica's head coach, and Stephen Jones is going to assist him.
That could be an interesting appointment.
Yeah, played against each other for the Lions and New Zealand in 2005. Stephen Jones famously keeping Johnny Wilkinson out of the fly half jersey on that tour. Anyway.
So I think we can argue whether Japan are tier 1 or tier 2. So all I'll say is for them, I think it's nice to see Michael Leach is still awesome. I think they probably just ran out of steam against Argentina. I don't know if anyone's got any other points. And then I think if we go on to Chile and then we can spend the whole last part talking about Portugal.
Yeah, so just interestingly on Japan is 40% of their points, just less, came from Matsuda at fly half, which is not what you associate with Japan at all. And what a luxury that is. If you look at like the box with the goal kicking issues they've had, Matsuda kicking 46, I think it was, points in 4 pool games. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, by far the highest point scorer of tier two nations. I think he scored something like 38% more points than William Havili, who was in second. So that was exciting. And Fakatava, their top try scorer with 3 tries. I asked this on the Pyropod. Did he mean it? The try against Argentina. Did he mean
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I say yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to Japan. I said I feel like it's a bit cheating because I do feel like they're sort of transitioned to a tier one
tier one nation,
especially with the council.
I think they're a tier one nation that that's trying to push the other tier two nations to its side. I cannot criticize them if they go to the Rugby Championship, because it will be the right path. Sorry, it's like Italy in the 2000s. It was the right path for them. I know Italy got completely molded against France and the All Blacks, but things are changing. And you can see this. I wrote a thread about the turning point for Portugal and Georgia in the last 6 years, and it was the U80s, 18s, and U20s. Italian U20s are doing well, doing very well. But going to Japan, I think what missed them was against Argentina. They got too excited about it when they were close to do a comeback and turning the score around. It was just the silly mistakes. Look, I was with some friends in Toulouse waiting for the game before going to the stadium, to the media box. And after they scored the try, who's not the last try, the second last try?
Japan's second last try was Saito.
So the score was 3 points, right? They were 3 points from taking the lead. And I said, okay, when the kickoff comes, they have to gather the ball, do phases, and keep the ball. And what they did was they received the ball well for the first time in like 8 kicks, which was a massive problem for them. But right after it, they tried to kick it like quickly, and it was just a bad kick. It was misplaced kick. And with Argentina, you can't do that because Argentinian runners are voracious. And Mateo Carrera was completely insane in that match, completely insane. And I think Japan was it was that moment. They couldn't drop the ball in that moment. It's the same thing against England. I think that try, that was Joe Marler who had butted, right?
Yep.
With the Falcon assist, broke the team. It's a lot, the little things that broke the team. And I felt sad. I wanted Japan to go through because of Michael Leach. He's one of the longest and best servants of the game, and who deserves everything that's coming his way, because he's trying to get Mongolian rugby to flourish. He's working for Japan. He plays, he coaches. It's massive, and I wanted him to go well. But well, it was not the swan song that he deserved. But at least we got, Dallin Stanford, the rugby commentator from South African commentator who lives in America. You know him, Dallin?
No, I don't know him.
Okay.
I don't know him personally, but I've heard his commentary. I've heard him on a podcast.
Yeah, Dallin shared some photos with Leach, fully equipped with the playing equipment at the bar after the game, which is, for me, perfect example who is Michael Leach, a good guy.
Yeah, I think I wanted them to get to the quarterfinals as well, because I think their weaknesses are Wales' strengths. So I think they would have given us. I think we would have had a better chance against them Argentina. I think, show them the respect of being critical. I think their aerial game was quite poor. England had a lot of joy against them by putting the ball up in the air, and they couldn't compete. And there were just some big missed tackles in midfield. I think if they'd have got to the quarterfinal, George North would have had a field day against them. I think he would have just smashed straight through them. But never mind, I suppose we'll just enjoy the Pumas instead. Oh well. Anyway, is it Chile now, Harley?
Yeah, I think if we go Chile, and then we can have a proper good go at discussing Portugal. I think that's only fair as we have Francisco. As long as you're happy with that, Francisco, and you can
I want. No, let's go.
So yeah, Chile, the newbies, the first new team for what was it? When was the last time we had a new team in the World Cup?
Pass. Was it? I don't know. Sorry. Is it Portugal in 2007? Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I think. It was either Portugal 2007 or maybe Russia. Was it Russia in the last World Cup? Was their first time?
No, it was not their last. No, it wasn't their first time. I think it was Portugal. Maybe it was Portugal.
Could it have been Uruguay 2015?
No.
No, they were in 2003. Is I think Uruguay.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Because a father of a player played in their team in 2003 or 1999 or something like that. Ormachea. Yeah, Ormachea.
Yeah, I said it just shows how much prep we've done for this one.
No, it's complicated because we don't want to say it's shocking. So it shows that there's consistency on the teams. But we need new blood. New blood is good. It's always good. It's always refreshing. I'm not a vampire.
So what we said about Chile then? So obviously we've all watched all the Squids Rugby videos and got very excited by them. They scored 4 tries. They got obviously a big scoreline put on them by England. They only kicked 1 conversion, which is an interesting, boring stat. There's not much to say about them, really. I was very impressed by their ball carrying in the first 20 minutes of games. I think they got a lot of go forward. I think, is it too simplistic to say that their game plan was similar to Portugal's in that it was a lot of running, a lot of avoiding contact rather than looking for it? If I'm being very simplistic.
I don't know if you're being simplistic. I think you are saying what you saw, and I think they're not playing like Portugal. It's a hybrid from Portugal and Georgia, I would say, because they like to get physical. If you rewatch the game against Japan, I think that was the game they wanted to win because no one knew what to expect from them. And that first half, they came blasting off. And what wasn't good for Chile was the conditioning. Conditioning-wise, second half was complicated. You could see that first halves were mainly mildly good, but the second half things didn't go well for them. I think Chile did well for a newcomer. I think it wasn't the worst result in the last 5 newcomers. So let's talk just from the 2003 World Cup to now, so 20 years. I think they did well. I was impressed with Chile, and I hope this inspires the next generation of players to want to play the game.
Yeah, I was so glad to see them get a try against Argentina as well, because that's a big game.
Yeah. And our first ever South American derby in a World Cup, which I thought was quite nice. Because I don't think Argentina and Uruguay have never been drawn in a pool together, and obviously this is Chile's first World Cup. I thought they had some.
Did the referee speak Spanish? Did the referee speak Spanish?
Who was the referee? Was it?
Good question.
I'm not sure they did. If I remember right, I sort of only got vague memory. I said some of these games just sort of stop blurring in when you start watching them, and you sort of take priority, and they come so thick and fast, Was it? And I can't remember if it's one I sort of watched on fast forward or because early in the day I was out with my wife or whatever.
Yeah, because I remember there was,
I'm not. I don't think they did. I've got a feeling it might have been someone like Matteo Reynal who officiated.
I know that America's Ovals tweeted that there are 3 teams at the World Cup who speak Spanish and 1 that speaks French, but we will hear referees speaking French but not Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
well,
let's actually talk about the rugby team.
Just one thing I did want to say is both the Escobars, so Diego the hooker, who I think in the first game
it's the name. It's the name. It's the name.
It's Diego Escobar won the name, but 2, I think the guy played unbelievably well. And then there's the fly. I don't know why it's always seems to be a fly with tier 2s. There's always a fly half that excites everyone. Yeah. Is it Fernandez? I think.
Yes, that's right, Fernandez.
Yeah.
Paul
the one who just scores like wonderful tries for fun. I thought they were good value. I mean, I wasn't expecting too much for them. I don't want to be too mean, but
they were on a bad run. I think now that they've lost this game, I think there's something like 11 games in a row they've lost now. I think I'm not sure if they've won a game since they beat USA in the playoff.
No, they won one. I think they won one.
Oh, I've got a PowerPoint presentation about them, so why don't I just check that?
Maybe I'm talking. Maybe I'm talking shit. Maybe I think didn't they win this summer one game?
I'm checking my PowerPoint.
I don't know unless
Paul Williams was the referee, and I don't think he would have spoken Spanish.
Yeah, Paul Williams. Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was Reynal. Maybe it's just because I'm thinking, the pure vibes that are going to come for.
They beat Brazil twice back to back after they beat USA, and then they haven't won a game since.
Yeah, I think that's.
Thank you.
Which I think is about the order in South America. Unless anyone else has got anything else to say about Chile, I thought they were quite nice. They were a nice, positive team, but
they sum up some tier 2 teams in that there are gaps. There are some things that they do amazingly, and then there are some things like essential parts of rugby that they just haven't developed yet. So obviously this World Cup was all about getting them on the map. So this next 4 years is about getting them to be the more complete rugby side. So yeah. They had some battering, so I don't want to focus on it. And they committed the worst crime of the World Cup. They made people think that Henry Arundel is good.
You cannot go to England anymore.
He lives there.
You're gonna die.
I'm not going to get a job for Rugby Pass, am I?
I just thought, I was about to mention that you live in Coventry, and I can't believe we didn't mention the wonderful son of Coventry that plays for Tonga.
Pellegrini.
Yeah,
Pellegrini. I'm seriously considering getting a Coventry season ticket and going to watch them.
Sorry to go back. I was just thinking that. So I think, without much further ado, I think we've tortured Francisco long enough.
You're not tortured.
For those listening, I think he's been getting a bit antsy. So I think it's time to talk about. I think possibly everyone's second team at this World Cup, apart from maybe Fiji's, and that is Portugal. So I think I'm just going to sit back and let Francisco wax lyrical, and let's see what we want to hear.
What? So give me a question and I'll answer it.
What tactic so I asked you a question after the the Australia Portugal game. Yeah. I said Portugal are very nice to watch, but do they need to change to win rugby matches? And you said no. Do you think you've been proved right?
It's difficult to say if my voice is hearing, right? Can you hear my voice, right? Okay, sorry. So I think they don't need to change. They need to be more patient with the ball. They work well the phases outside of the 22, the adversaries 22. When they get in it or very close to it and they have an advantage over the line, they are already seeing the try, but they're not seeing how to get to it. And they get like really accelerated and everything with 8 in the end. And that doesn't help. Tomas Appleton, who I want to make you're going to send him this pod to him. You're going to Instagram and send it to him to listen this part. Tomas, which is a good friend of mine that played with me and against me for a long time and so on and talked for like years, said something that was very important to understand, that Portugal was doing everything well. We are not being patient enough. We have to be more calm, more moderate when we get to those parts of the pitch. And that took the chance of us to get an upset against Wales, against Australia, and maybe even Georgia, because there were 3 tries that were certain tries, but someone didn't pass the ball because they were already seeing the line. And I think you could sum the worst parts of the Portugal's crazy type of attack, or Rugby Champagne 2.0, is Nicolas Martins' missed try against Australia. It was a 5 against 1. It was a certain try. I was already up like this. I was always like this. And I was saying, yes, my Menino is my boy. Yes, yes. And then when I saw Callaway coming, I said, no, step in. Well, he dived, and that's a problem. I think sometimes oxygen doesn't get so quickly inside their heads and they missed it. But when you get to Fiji, it changed. They got like really patient, right? Really patient. And it worked fine with them. Well, they were patient in the second half. In the first half, they weren't, because you had flankers doing cross kicks, which was completely ludicrous. You had props doing back passes, like and hookers. Tadger was. I've just interviewed him for
amazing.
Yeah, mate. I just interviewed him for Rugby World magazine, and he's a good friend of mine too. And I'm going to not try saying this, and I asked him, okay, what just popped to your mind to kick the ball? And he said, well, I was alone, no one was next to me, and I know how to kick, and I kicked. And I said, okay, that's fine.
He really looks like he knew what he was doing, didn't he? Like the way he picked his spot. But that's not the question. The question is not why did he kick? The question is, why was he the one who was chasing the ball back?
I have the answer. I think if I give you the answer, I won't spoiling the. Oh, well, I don't know. Now, if I don't know if I'm going to.
I think if I kind of want, maybe if you tell us offline, but then it will, hopefully the listeners then will go and read your book.
But then my chief editor is going to be angry with me. But I can say to you that, and this I can tell you because I talked with some players what they thought about it. So let me share you with some players. I asked Rafael Simões, the number 8, what he thought, and he said, well, we were attacking well. We lost the ball. We saw, I think it was Raposo or Botia who kicked the ball. I don't remember. And we were like shocked because we thought no one was in the back. And when I turned my head, was Mike there. And then I talked with Bentcourt and Pedro Bentcourt, and I like start sprinting, like till my lungs came out of my mouth, because I wanted to go help Mike to get the ball and kick. But then I saw him just doing that pose, that kicker's pose. And I said, why Mike? And then he kicked beautifully and said, okay, Mike, you're right. And there's an explanation for it. Mike is a football, like, massive fan. Olympique Marseille. So, and he, in Portugal's training, he kicks a lot in the off parts of the training. So he likes to drop the ball, kick. He's very good playing football. I can say to you, he plays massively well, like Lionel Messi in disguise. And I think it's something, and this is an advertisement for coaches out there. If a kid wants to kick a ball in training or in the off parts of training, let him, even if he's a prop, because it's an ability that can tune in and get better. And you never know if at certain point they must rely on it, like Tadger did. Tadger in the top 14 is known for kicking the ball and doing great kicks. You go to YouTube and Mike Tadger rubber kick, Mike Tadger cross kick. You can find the most delicious moments in French rugby, and I think that sums up the French rugby culture, because even a hooker can kick the ball like he's Dan Carter. So read
I'm frantically googling.
So read the interview for Rugby World Magazine, because it's going to be a very fun one and emotional too.
There was one thing. I was talking to Hugh through the game, and I actually commented, I think that was the best in kick out of hand that Portugal did, that kick to clearance. Because the one thing I would say with Portugal is I don't want them to change the way they play, but I do think they need to sharpen up their kicking game, because I think it can. For those on the, I think I don't want them to stop attacking, but I feel like, the way France use kicking as an extra way of attacking in the orientated, and just sometimes you just need to get out of your 22, and I think that's something they sometimes struggled with, but not. I'm not sure who it was. I don't know if it was just because of mistakes. It might have been Appleton, or one of the other players. They commented saying something along the lines of, I think it might have been after the Australia game, they said we need to sharpen up on our mistakes, because we can get away with it in the Rugby Europe Championship, but we can't necessarily against these bigger teams. So actually, I think it was nice to see them just sort of saying we weren't necessarily as good as we could have been, but we know how we're going to get better now. And I think it's going to be everyone very much looking forward to seeing them play next.
I can't wait for the Rugby Europe next year. I can't wait.
It's going to be proper fun. But let me.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Let just answer quickly. I think the kicking was good, mainly overall, because I think it was the only team that did 3 50-22s in the World Cup. So it shows. Geraldine Portela is not a great kicker. He's a good kicker. Normally, a fly half needs to kick well. But for the Portugal attacking system, Portela is better, because he knows how to pass the ball, he knows how to move, he's slick, he's quick, he's reliable on tackling, and so on. And I think I'm not disagreeing with you, Harley, but see against Fiji that massive kick from, I think, Horst Portela or Cardoso Pinto. They kicked the high ball that Portela catched in the air against Makala, and fell to the ground, and Bentancur then kicked for the starting strike. Portugal knows how to kick well. I think the problem is sometimes they want to rush things. And at this level, you can't rush things. You have to be patient, calm, breathe a little. No, like they did in the last 30 seconds against Fiji. Receive the ball, keep it in, phase, kick it out. That's it. And sometimes it didn't happen that way, because you had Portela, Nuno Sousa Guedes, Storti, Marta, Ball, or Nicolas Martins, because they want to play around like they are the All Blacks. And I think that's a thing that's good. Sometimes they must be calmer.
Yeah. So I've got two more questions. First is, were you as shocked as I was to see the Portuguese defence sending Fiji's biggest runners backwards multiple meters?
Now, after the World Cup, I can reveal that I had made a prediction. I thought Portugal was going to win against Georgia and against Fiji with 2 wins. I got almost right. And I thought in the last game against Fiji, we were going to shock everyone by attacking well, but defending like hard. And then that was the thing that mainly stopped Fiji from getting a win against us, because they couldn't adapt to our defense. They fought by just running for like 60 minutes against the tackler. At a certain point, it would break the tackler. So Portugal would get tired and start doing missed tackles. But when you empower a team in defense, you're going to lose that match. And when I saw, I don't remember who's the Fijian player that went against Martins and Lima and was picked off and carried for almost 8 meters. I said, okay, it's done. We're going to win this. Portugal's going to win this, like if Fiji likes it or not. And everyone understand besides me were looking to me and saying, one person actually believed, it was David Andrade from Público, that said, we're going to win this because defense is being completely ridiculous. Francisco Fernandes got injured in the shoulder by doing a try-saving tackle inside the goal area. He got his shoulder popping, and that's how a team is built. It's on belief. It's a system that works. It's not just it's just not heart. It's mind. They know how to tackle low, strong. You have to go up and drive, and that's it. And Portugal is perfect. And I think that's what the thing that Fiji and Simon Halvui was impressed, because Portugal really, really put up a defensive structure and system that blew everyone away.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, and
I think that's what.
Sorry, go ahead. I just got one more question I want to ask. Yeah, go ahead, Harley. You go. You go. And then my question.
Sorry about this. Yeah, so the thing that impressed me most about Fiji was actually, and not just against Fiji, but against all the teams, like their defensive system was just so great. And I think Fiji tried to fell into the same trap Wales where I think, because I remember when we did a live stream and I said Wales just look like they're just trying to knock a Fiji out by just keep running and fast, but their fitness was just not dropping. They seem to relish every tackle, and they seem to. Then we sort of took the Georgian blueprint of what Fiji did with a bit of how Wales defended Fiji, and somehow managed to come up with the better system than both. And they seem to be able to accept. They were able to knock Fijians backwards while still keeping people on their feet and getting over the ball. And I don't know how, unless they snuck another 15 players on, I don't know how they managed to just keep that space so filled. I was like, as someone who, I'm a bit more of a defensive now. So I love, I will quite happily watch a 13-12 game as I will a 38-42 if it's more about the defenses being great than the attack
real rugby
not necessarily working. The physical challenge is the bit I love. So, but I mean, I was just so impressed with Portugal with that.
Okay, yeah. My last fun question for Francisco. I want you, Francisco, to tell me, if you could have one Welsh player play for Portugal, who would it be? And then afterwards, I will tell you which Portugal player I would have for Wales.
Shite. Bro. Oh, Jesus. It seems like I'm being arrogant with you guys and everybody in the world. I'm going to pick someone. Nothing against Stevie Cerqueira. Nothing against him. If Stevie hears this, I love him. He's a great line-out player and a massive tackler. But I would pick Will Rowlands for Portugal.
That's a great choice.
Yeah, a pairing with Madeira. José Madeira, in Portugal. It will be incredible.
That's a great. See, there's a rugby man. He's not gone for Louis Rees-Zammit. He's not gone for Dan Bigger. He's gone for a second row. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and
I'll tell you who I pick. Sorry, go ahead, Harley.
I was going to say that is, I genuinely, again, this might be the Welsh bias, but I do think Will Rowlands is one of those players who'd improve pretty much any team he was in. I think me and Hugh had the discussion saying that England must be kicking themselves that they let him go to Wales, because he's just unbelievable as a workhorse lock, and actually can do some of the fancy stuff as well if he needs to. But yeah, go on. I'm excited to see this.
He's the one who got Alan Wynne-Jones out of the Wales team. And say no more.
I think, if I can, Alan Wynne-Jones must be proud that Rowlands took his place with such consistency and power.
Yeah. Okay. The Portugal player that I would take for Wales, I could choose Storty. I think a lot of Welsh fans would be very happy to have him. But
Come on, come on.
I tell you something. In Wales, we say that we have number sevens for days. There are no bad number sevens in Wales. I moved Jack Morgan to number 6 to have Nicholas Martins at number 7 for us.
You can't have
Harley
it.
doesn't like it.
Well,
the thing I liked about Martins is he's actually listed as a second row on the fantasy, so that meant
I know,
actually
biggest
had
gift of points ever.
Yeah, it was, that helped. But I think do you know what, I'm there thinking like with what we want Christians to be. Actually, I said I probably would have taken him, maybe have him a 6. But I mean, I feel like go on all Eddie Jones numberless backlines. For me personally, I was there thinking like I know Taj has announced his retirement, but I was there thinking, can someone at the Arms Park find some loose change and get him in, get Taja in? Because if anything,
okay.
Loose change at the Arms Park.
Yeah. Or only maybe there might be something under the carpet that we call a pitch. But I think just seeing someone, I've never seen a hooker who is so physical, so brilliant. I mean, all the skill set, and I've not seen that man not smile. And I think he has possibly the best photo on World Rugby for all the players on all the squads. Because just seeing that beaming smile, it just makes you, I'm just grinning thinking about it. But yeah, for me, I think it'd be Taja. I mean, as much as I love the hookers we have, I think there's just something about him I just love, and I love the idea of having an exit strategy where the hooker looks like he's going to the back of a caterpillar ruck and then just hoofs it.
Well, you want to make me cry, right? If I cry now, it's your own fault. But look, I think I can call myself a good friend of Mike Tadger. I'm a journalist first, but you can have friends as players and be critical about it. I've criticized Mike sometimes in line-out throws because at some games he missed, and he knows it. Better than anyone else, he knows it. And he has talked openly about it. But Mike is inspirational guy. This is going to be a monologue of 2 minutes, if you let me. Can I? Hugh, no problem, I hope.
Go for it, mate.
Oh, well, and look, I'm going to explain to you, and this is not in the full interview, you can understand better, but why Mike smiles for Portugal, because he loves Portugal. He loves the game. This game gave him everything, like proper everything. He loved every second of it. This was his fairy tale ride to finish in a World Cup. And he retired 3 days ago on Sunday. And today he gave me an interview. We talked like for an hour. And it shows how, and I said to him, so Monsieur, I call him Le Monsieur, it's my nickname to Mike. How's retirement going? And he says, well, great, because now I can eat everything I want. I can do everything I want. And I am happy because it ended the way I wanted to. And when I asked him how it felt when you got outside of the pitch and everybody was like applauding, standing, and he said, well, for me, I won't forget it, never, because it was the pinnacle of my career. And it was a moment that I felt like part of Portugal, a country that I picked to play. He could have played for France at some certain point, but he chose Portugal. And look, this World Cup, it was just MVP all over him. Like every match, he excelled at it. That line out against Wales, it was in his head. It was nicely done by Rafael Simões, but everything was strict. And I think Portugal is going to miss Mike, not because of the player, also because of the player, but because of the man. the human being that was him. There will be new future players, but Mike Tadja is Mike, and I think everyone in Portugal will always remember him. Just to finish this monologue, when I was there in the airport yesterday, and I was there by accident, and Harley knows it. I was inside the plane to go to Madeira at 7 p.m. and EasyJet canceled the flight inside the plane. So I said, okay, damn it, I'm going to wait for the players. And I heard, and when all of them came out, you could listen the little kids and little girls saying, "Where's Mike? Where's Mike? Where's Chico Fernandez? Where they are? They were in France already. They didn't come to Portugal." And you see how big of impact a guy that never lived in Portugal, sorry, had for
It's all right.
Portuguese sports. Sorry. I'm not.
Yeah, I think just that speech, and actually I don't know if anyone has seen the video, because it's one of the few bits of content Will Rugby are allowing us to watch, because I'm guessing there are no rugby balls in the site, but
Yeah.
The Portuguese players coming back, and it's just so heartwarming. I think this is, I think everyone all agrees, this is what the World Cup is, and all the talk about blowouts and our team's competitive and should we go down to 16 and further close shop. These are the stories that make you love rugby. And it's it's not seen like, it's not always the as ruthless efficiency that Ireland, the All Blacks have shown, or it's the debate, or really the debates of which of England's three half decent tens plays fullback and win.
I tell you now, if the All Blacks or the Springboks win this World Cup, it will be less memorable than what Portugal did in Pool C.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I thought the exact same. For me, my resounding memory of 2019 is Uruguay beating Fiji, and how well they, and or things like Japan beating Ireland and Scotland, despite Scotland trying to sue the weather to get the result they wanted. It turns out if they'd actually let the game get called off, it'd been better for them. But it's just nice seeing the human aspect of it all, and
it is.
I think Portugal have just become so endearing. I think pretty much every podcast that's spoken about last weekend has mentioned it, that Portugal are a bunch of mates who've gone to a World Cup, and you could tell the way they played, the fact that even when things went wrong, they were still happy, and they were all with each other. And sorry to set you off again, Francisco.
No,
it's inspiring. I genuinely, I think it gets thrown about, but this Portugal team do restore your faith in rugby as what it can do off the field.
If I have to cry, I have no issues. It's going to be in a rap podcast or in the rock and roll, whatever, because it's the podcast I love in the UK, and it's the perfect place to cry. So, look, you're saying mates, yeah. Look, Sordi came to France to Stade Français 2 years ago, and now he was last season he was loaned to Béziers in the Pro D2, where he plays with Francisco Fernandes, and Francisco Fernandes adopted him, and this shows that Portugal, there has no boundaries. And when there was the 2016 World Cup, the football one, the men's football cup, sorry, Stella, I was pissed with some adverts in Portugal saying we are 10 million supporting a national team. No, fuck, you're not 10. Sorry for the cursing, man. You are not 10 million. You are 20 million. You have Portuguese in France, South Africa, Australia, Brazil, New Zealand, Japan. These people love more Portugal than the guys that were born here. I was lucky enough to be born in Portugal. It was luck of the destiny. Mike was born in France. He chose to. His father was Portuguese. so Mike is called Mike Tadger Barbosa, and he chose to love Portugal. He chose. It was a decision. And the guy that makes a decision and sings the national anthem, and when gets outside of his last game and and does everything he can to not try and not crack down, shows that nationality doesn't know any boundaries. I don't get why people say you are only English or Welsh or Portuguese or Irish if you are born in there. No, wait, no, you aren't. Look, you had so many players playing for Wales that were not playing in Wales, and they were complete great servants of the game. And you will never, never, never forget about it. And I think it's so poor when we treat players like this. You understand? And for me, Portugal is a team, is a group of friends, but more of it is a professional team with guys that connect. And that is the lesson we must take. Not close boundaries, not do walls, because it's going to be stupid. Do more questions, because I can talk about the airport thing and how massive it can be for everyone. And let's talk about of the game. So sorry.
No, yeah, I've said I'm not trying not to butt in, because just hearing you full flow and just the passion is, this is what I love. And I think you've done another, and I mean, I think you've probably done another issue about, like, particularly with the people, particularly in certain parts of the media, who have a go at players because they weren't necessarily born somewhere or another. It's just so, it's true. Like, just because you were born in one place doesn't mean, like, the Welsh get cop a lot of it, because a lot of their players were born in England, because guess what? Wales is a poor country, so people's parents had to move to get jobs. I mean, that's the reason why I'm here. Hugh's here for university, and came to Coventry University, and that's that's life. You've got to move around. My daughter was born here in Devon. She's still Welsh. She's still going to be captain in Wales women to a World Cup victory in a 20 years time.
I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, Fleur-worthy. Just remember the name. Not that I'm pressuring my child in any way, shape, or form.
No.
She's definitely not already been to more, seen more rugby games and been to more live games than she is old. Admittedly, slept in
anyway, mate. I think we've done it to death. I think that is the most comprehensive Tier 2 coverage of any podcast we'll ever do.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how long Francisco added. So I think it's time to just say thank you for Hugh for stepping in at quite short notice to come and talk, and a huge thank you once again, Francisco. You're always welcome around, and hopefully one day hopefully we can do some more of these when we get to Rugby Championship. But I know Lee's keen to have you on for when the Black Lions get here. So thank you both.
Thank you, guys,
and thank you for everyone who's listening / watching.
Thank you.